Okay, so this is Mark of the Assassin. It's the second DLC pack for Dragon Age 2. It's going to be released on October the 11th on all 3 platforms simultaneously. The price is going to be $9.99 or 800 Microsoft points. Basically, it's a thrilling new adventure. It offers all new enemies, new environments, and really it showcases a new character, Talis, which is voiced and portrayed by Felicia here. So, I mean, really what you're doing is you're going on kind of like a heist, but I mean, there's going to be a lot more twists and intrigue involved in that. You're going to see the Orleans a lot deeper, and you're going to really encounter some more of the Canary culture as well. So, I mean, obviously, we've taken feedback from Dragon Age 2 and even from Legacy on how we made it. So, what we want to do is, introduce new environments and add a lot more side quests. It's not going to be as linear as, Dragon Age 2 was. So there's a lot more exploration involved, as well as we introduce a lot of cool new characters, and it's going to be really challenging for a player to go through as well.
There's also, Talis has her own skill tree that was made, sort of took some inspiration from certain moves from the web series that I wrote and acted in as Talis. And then they created a whole new tree that has some stealth abilities that are interesting. She has a ranged attack, which is, kind of interesting as well. So she's sort of a mix between Varric and Isabella. So she's a hybrid rogue in a sense.
Right, and she's a ton of fun to play with. And when you bring her on your party, she's going to have different interactions with each of the characters that you bring. So it actually offers a lot of replay value to see how Talis is going to talk to, say, Fenris versus Varric, etc. Right?
Yeah, when I was doing the recording, which was hours and hours and hours, I was even, as a fan of the series, impressed with how much deeper the lore became in my eyes with the Orlesians and the Canary, as well as the different ways you can deal with Talis and how many alternate conversations that you would miss choosing one path. So to me, as a fan of the series, I appreciated the depth of flexibility in how you deal with the character and how they deal with you back as a result of all that. So there's certain ways you could deal with Talis. You could flirt with her, or you could be hostile, and all these things lead to different outcomes, which are, really, really exciting. Yeah, EA approached me to work together on something, and when I just heard that BioWare property, the Dragon Age property, was available to me, perhaps to work with, I was so incredibly excited because before they even reached out, I had played through Origins a couple times, and this was last March, so it was almost a year before Dragon Age 2 even came out. And so, we developed this idea that I would create a web series and a character that I would play and produce the web series. And tangentially, BioWare would create a piece of DLC that would take that character from the web series into a playable piece of content, which is kind of the first time that's ever been done. So as a video game fan, I thought it was very exciting to be able to expand a world I love into a new format and then go back into the game. Looking at the DLC now, I'm just kind of blown away about how, I couldn't even imagine how expansive they would take it. They would have created, this world where they take my character that I just put on paper. I wanted to be an elf, and I wanted to, they suggested I explore the Canary culture a little bit more, and then they took that and made a whole DLC that stands alone outside the web series, so you don't have to watch the web series to understand the DLC and vice versa, but they'll supplement each other in ways that are really, kind of create a more three-dimensional storytelling experience.
And you've had experience in the past doing, cultivating sort of a product across multiple platforms. I guess there was a comic book spinoff with the Guild and whatnot. If you can go more into detail on sort of how this experience was for you.
Yeah, to me, I could easily just jump into TV and do TV shows only, but what I'm interested in is exploring different ways of telling stories, and obviously as somebody who started their sort of creative life loving video games, the opportunity to be able to work with those kind of stories that you spend 30 hours with versus 3 hours is so interesting to me. So, this was kind of the project that came along that I wanted to do, no matter, what kind of barriers were in the way, we were going to make it happen. And be able to work with a creative team at BioWare to sort of fill out my ideas for a story and then, be able to see inside their process. It just makes me appreciate the whole creation of video games and writing them. because like I said, you experience, for every hour that you experience playing, they've created 5 hours probably behind the scenes that you don't see because of the player choices. So like replayability, like the depth of storytelling that's required is really, impressive to me. So that's why it was kind of like the dream opportunity to be able to create stories that cross platforms like that.
Well, considering your enthusiasm, I assume you didn't have any problems that, this was a collaborative process with the writing and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure you had some involvement conceptually, but it seems like you definitely let BioWare just sort of like run with the character.
Yeah, as far as the web series goes, like that was more what they kind of gave me the freedom to create the character, with them suggesting things along the way that they knew that would fit within their long-term plans. For the DLC and et cetera. But as far as the story, I was the one who, said, hey, this looks cool to me, and, they generally, approved it, because to me, I took their world as sacrosanct. So I did hours and hours of research. I read every forum post that David Gator or Mary has ever written. To me, it was, I wanted to experience the web series like an extension of playing the game. So every scene, to me, I wrote as something that I could experience as a player character, as one of the characters they created. So, and in looking at the DLC, the extension of that, I hope that people, see the parallels between the storytelling in the web series, even though it's a completely different format, and with the DLC.
Right, to be clear, she wrote the web series, but
I had nothing to do.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so when that's what I'm saying. Like when I wrote, I'm looking at the DLC, and when I was doing the lines, like just what they took, the grain of what they took from the web series, and they created a whole other experience. It's just, it blows my mind. Having done producing and writing and acting on this project, there's only so much time a person has in their life, and if I'm going to devote myself entirely to creating something, especially a web series is challenging to do on every level, especially when you wear so many hats. So it has to be something I'm passionate about, and to me, BioWare in Dragon Age to me is the fantasy standard, I think, in video games nowadays. I mean, they've created a world that transcends mediums, really. I mean, they have novels and comics and video games, and sort of the depth of the world they've created, to me, was just like the most exciting place that I could, have a little, contribution to in making the web series. So, yeah, I mean, to me, I'm always wanting to do things that are different and work with people who are creative and inspire me back. So, I was as much a fan to see, get on the phone with Mike Laidlaw or email with David Gator as anybody would who loves Dragon Age. And so when the things that on my end that I tried to do was to make sure that other fans of Dragon Age could see that infused in everything that I did on my part.
Last question, any sort of anecdotes you have in terms of just sort of getting into character, either through Redemption or through the game?
Well, for Redemption, I worked out with stunt guys 3 hours a day for 4 months. So me in that outfit is definitely a moment in time that may never be duplicated. But the very cool thing was when I went in to do all the vocal recording, which David Gator, I believe, wrote the DLC himself. So that voice is completely so solid. And as a fan, when I was doing these hours and hours of recording, I learned more about the world that I love. But also, I just appreciated, just the character building. He took, what Talis was in the web series and just added so many more layers, like a cake on top of it. So not only do you learn more about her background and the Canary, culture, but he took the character and added depth to her that even as the person who kind of started her from scratch, I said, oh, that's so interesting. So, I guess that process made me appreciate video games a lot more, and the storytelling challenges, because you're trying to let the player be involved in a way that you don't when you're writing a screenplay. So it was just an amazing experience seeing that work and seeing all the effort that goes behind it to make the video game the way it is.
How many takes did it take to do that wyvern call?
Okay, so the Nud call. I mean, let's just be honest. It was supposed to be comedic. It was my genuine best Nug. I mean, I just, it's very embarrassing. Somebody's going to make that a ringtone, and it's going to be...
It's a good call.
Oh, you're going to do it now, aren't you? I gave him a bad idea.